Thanks for checking out another clip of the Cashflow Contractor. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. Click subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
I'm curious, if you want to prevent having this cash crisis, what are some things that we can be looking at and monitoring regularly to see how we're going to have a cash crunch coming up or whatever it is? We may be dipping into that 3-month cushion. What are the early warning signs?
Well, and I mentioned this earlier, it's if you're not able to collect on the work that you've done, that's a huge one that will impact you. So, looking days to collection, how long are your receivables out there? And there's a lot of people are very reticent to take credit cards because of the 3% fee, and I'm not a fan of it. But if your collection cycle is really dragging on and you're spending a lot of your time trying to collect, then you need to evaluate that 3% might be worth it to get paid when that job is complete, when you're on site and you've got the money in the bank at that point. So I just think that that's kind of something that business owners need to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the credit card, in my opinion, I'm willing to pay $30 to get, my cash, right? So if it's $1,000 transaction, I'll pay, sure, take $30. Okay. And now I've collected, I don't have any AR. Now I'm charging 10 grand, 12 grand. Okay. We probably need to do ACH.
Different story.
What can you do to make it feasible for someone to pay 12 grand? Can you make it separate payments of, hey, there's a good deposit of 30% or whatever it is? I think another thing to consider is, hey, this is the cash price or the check price. Here is the credit card price, and charge 3.5%. So that now
and
you're
a lot
not.
of the processors now are when you email out an invoice, is you can pay with ACH or you can pay with the credit card, but the person using the credit card pays the 3%.
They give that option.
Yeah, which is really nice as the owner. And some people have great benefits with their credit card, and they would rather pay that 3% and get their airline points or whatever it is they're building towards.
Hey,
Right.
let's. I didn't know about that. How does that happen where you can push the fee over? I know we've got people that will want to look into that. Do it.
Yeah, it depends on who your processor is. And so I don't believe that QuickBooks has rolled that out. Anchor has. They're kind of a boutique one.
Stripe, maybe, hopefully.
There is some functionality in Stripe that you can customize it. It doesn't really come out of the box, but you can do that. I think if you just search like pass on processing fees through credit card, you're going to find so many of them. Anchor's one of them. I'm forgetting the names of the other ones, but there's
I'm
a
kind of
handful
blanking
out
on
there.
ones. I don't want to misspeak and say.
But just
one that
Google it,
doesn't.
and we'll put a link to Anchor in the show notes, and we'll put maybe a link to a couple of others for listeners as credit card processing options. But again, you can just put a flat, like I've seen people just put a flat 5% to if you want to pay credit card, and it's even more than the actual processing fee, and people will still pay it because they can put points on the card, or they don't have cash, but they just want to do it, and so they put it on their credit card. So, that's definitely a really good way to start collecting. Okay, so collecting cash as a sign. Any other signs?
Are you talking about in terms of if the cash is not trending the right way, like looking for signs?
Yeah, just like
that
warning signs that you. Yeah,
okay.
hey, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? This is a really simple one, but when you get your bank statement, if your balance is down every month from what it was at the starting, is like, hey, somewhere there's a slip. I mean, it's the easiest one in the book, but it's just kind of like, hey, if every month you're 2 or 3 grand lower than you were the month before, then you're basically dipping into your funds to cover your operating expenses.
Yeah. Well, I would say another good one is just looking at your estimated gross margin and your actual gross margin on each project. Because if that's a huge warning sign. Like, hey, you're not hitting what your target was. So it's going to trickle down to where you don't have the cash, right? I think that's a really good one as well.
And something too that can have a ripple effect is if you have a job that was really off base, and so let's say you broke even and you didn't have any profit on it, then you essentially your overhead for the time of that project is going to be cutting in and reducing your profitability on the other projects down the road. And so just really making sure that you are, as each project is complete, evaluating it. And the importance of that too is because sometimes you're going to have to change the way you do your pricing and the way you do your estimates. If you're seeing what is actual versus what was budgeted, and you're always about 5% off, is then, hey, you probably need to, raise your prices 5% if you want to hit your target number.
Yeah. Raising prices will make getting more cash significantly easier, as long as obviously people will pay what you're raising it to, but you'd be surprised. A lot of it's head trash where you're not raising your price. So,
Yes.
so let's talk about the actual like savings plan. How do we get to that 3 months? We've talked about some strategies for generating more cash, but do you have targets that you typically set with a client? How do you calculate what that target is? How long should it take you to get to the 3 months? Anything that you work on in that regard?
A lot of that's depending on what they're doing right now each month. And then kind
Right.
of some of the strategies we talked about, because the biggest thing is you, to get your cash, is you've got to cut your spending and you've got to, bring in the money.
Right.
So yeah, looking at ways to cut spending. And a lot of that, and I kind of sound like a mother when I say this, is, pack your lunch. You want to talk about saving a lot of money, is if every day is you're, using the company funds to go buy lunch out somewhere, is pack your lunch, make your coffee at home and take it with you. And, so it's kind of some of those simple things that really it adds up when you start seeing, and by adds up, I mean the savings start to add up when you start taking them, making those little changes.
Yeah, definitely. I just kind of, I think about it and, hey, okay, I'm 3 months. That's what my goal is. And so I'm trying to get $60,000. That's my 3-month cushion, right? And so I start putting, like, I get that account for cash and I start moving money over. But the danger there is I need that cash for operations. Like, I can't just pull it out. So is there like, hey, every quarter, evaluate your cash position, pull this percentage out potentially, or, what, like logistically, what's the best way so you don't run into the ground?
Well, and it goes back to what we're talking about, knowing your numbers, because it's not only
Yeah.
knowing what your cash position is, but knowing how your jobs are going. Um, and the other thing I say a lot is know your worth. And Khalil, you said
Hmm.
head trash, but if you're delivering a good product and you think, okay, everyone around me is charging X, you know what? If you're better than everyone around you, you charge X plus Y. And you might need to let someone not take you, but know your worth. Like, don't do a project where you're not making the profit that you want to make, because then you are letting go the next project where you could have made that. So, and
Yeah.
I've found, and just in what I do, is when people, um, and I say with my firm is like, we're not the cheapest, but we're the best. And so if you want cheap, then go hire someone who does bookkeeping that has, a little placard on the corner. But it's so don't make your sell about price. Make it about the value that you deliver. And then that way you can really start to increase your profit margin.
So this goes exactly to the point of timeline for projects, as well as the costs of the project. But when you don't know your worth, you try to add value. You try to overcompensate, essentially. Oh, well, we've got to eat that customer concession. They got upset with this. We're just going to do it free of charge, right? And let's throw in this. Let's make them happy, right? And let's add a little bit of whatever to this project. And so then you add cost to it because they're not paying you for it and you're just adding cost to it. But then also now the project has gone outside of the scope and you're going longer than originally intended. And that's what's killing your margin a lot. And you're basically giving them your cash. That's what you're doing. And so yeah, you definitely have to know your worth and stick to it, right?
Thanks for checking out a clip from the Cashflow Contractor. We have full episodes where we go deep on topics that help you grow a construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, more money. Now, we've got other videos, other clips, but if you want to check out the full episode for this clip, you can click wherever our editor put it. It might be here, might be there, might be over my face, I don't know. But thank you for checking us out. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. So subscribe or check out a full episode wherever you get podcasts.